Welcome back to One Up Boys with some more Godzilla fun times as tomorrow Godzilla vs. Kong comes out, which I'm very sad to inform that Universal did not allow King Kong to be put in this game. But I still had a pretty great time nevertheless, as you can't really go that wrong with giant kaiju fighting each other. At least as far as you also getting to control the mayhem and destruction goes. I will mention that while there is a Wii version, I opted to play the PS2 version due to hearing about a lot of problems in the Wii version, and both play pretty differently. Despite that, this game also has a much cooler story than the other games have had so far, with some interesting ways you can actually go about getting multiple endings. Let's get to the basics so I can explain a little bit more about that. This game, being a sequel to Godzilla Save the Earth, plays almost exactly like the other two games, and I'll explain the almost in just a second. Your basic forms of attack are punches, kicks, and throws with multiple ways to execute a throw. The change lies in the Ultra move, which last time you just straight out used to pick it up. This time around you have a gauge that fills up as you grab health boosts and special move charges. The special moves are just your beams you shoot out, also being able to quickly press the button to perform a blast varying between the different kaiju. Once the gauge fills up, you go into a mode called Critical Mass, in which your strength gets a big boost as well as speed at the cost of your defense. I also learned that it's pretty easy to get knocked out of this mode if you get frozen by an attack, but not many enemies have that. The Ultra moves need to be unlocked through the Story mode, where some monsters get boosts through crystals that I'll explain later. Defeating them will earn you a Power Surge, which there are a multitude of and can only be used once per battle. Different ones just let you use a couple different attacks and boosts. In the levels, you earn points that get bigger depending on how many monsters you put down, your destruction level, and time. Destroying crystals will also earn you more points, but if you destroy them all, it usually ends a level. Now I'll actually get to the multiple endings I mentioned before, which there are 5 of. This game has factions between the different monsters you can play as: aliens, mutants, Earth Defenders, and GDF. Each has their own ending, but some monsters can attain multiple, that being aliens, Earth Defenders, and the GDF, as they can get their own endings as well as getting corrupted by the crystals that appear. Space Godzilla actually has the 5th ending to himself if you beat the game as him. Sadly, there isn't any real crossover endings where an alien or a mutant can get the Earth Defenders or vice versa. Also, let me go over the monsters you can play as in the PS2 version. On the Earth Defenders, you have Godzilla 2000, Godzilla's 90s, Anguirus, Fire Rodan, Mothra, and Baragon. On the GDF, we have Moguera, Mechagodzilla 2, Kiryu, Jet Jaguar, and Mecha King Ghidorah. For the alien side, there is Gigan, King Ghidorah, Mechagodzilla, Megalon, and Orga. Finally, on the mutant side, there is Batra, Destroya, Megaguirus, Obsidius, and Space Godzilla. Monsters exclusive to the Wii are Godzilla 1954, King Caesar, Varan, Biolante, Crystalac, and Titanosaurus. I'm just going to be explaining the story that I went through, as there isn't really any canon going on besides through these 3 games. I chose to be Godzilla, who is in the Earth Defenders faction. The game starts off with a meteor shower that introduces crystals into the world that have massive energy that causes climate shifts and earthquakes. These crystals end up breaking the barrier on Monster Island, and all the monsters end up breaking free and pretty much doing their own thing, creating factions in reaction to the crystals. Some want the power of the crystals, while others want to protect the Earth. In response, the GDF send out their own mecha, Kiryu, in order to combat and destroy the crystals, as well as to scope out what some of the monsters' responses are. Godzilla chooses to defend the Earth and combat the monsters who just want power, as well as the alien menace in the Vortak, who once again invade in order to steal the crystals. Eventually, their mothership gets knocked to San Francisco, pretty much in shambles. As the conditions start to get worse and worse on Earth, The GDF become more desperate. Not knowing exactly what to do, they make the rash decision, as they can't just talk to any of the kaiju, to destroy them all, because if any of the monsters were to attain full critical mass absorbing the crystal's energy, they could easily destroy the world, while the other monsters were still passively getting stronger and stronger due to the crystals at an alarming rate. The General Diozan pilots the Torgon in order to combat them, but his hate of the monsters gets corrupted further by the crystals, dying in a fiery blaze. The finale comes around as things are looking horribly bleak as Space Godzilla appears from the alternate dimension he was imprisoned in from Save the Earth. Godzilla takes him on and ends up coming out the victor, stopping the crystals from further appearing and saving the Earth, the GDF thanking him for his bravery. This game is really interesting out of the three, and I was super happy and interested in how the story system worked. And while it wasn't super extensive, it was a pleasant surprise considering the other two weren't very story heavy. The combat kept up with the improvements in Save the Earth, and fighting multiple monsters in story mode was extremely fun and felt pretty epic. I also liked the various ways you could choose to beat a stage. It was a nice touch that, while there aren't many ways, I appreciated. My cons lie again with the way to unlock characters, as it goes for a buying with points system to force replays, and while I'd be fine with that, the first time I beat the story, I couldn't even buy one monster with what I made, but the built-in cheats alleviate this a lot for me. The only qualms I have with the story is that it seems that it ate up most of the time they had to make the game. That, and the almost totally different Wii version, is that they didn't have time to implement the cool challenge mode that they had in Save the Earth. Also, the fact that the PS2 version is basically missing all the new characters that were added to the Wii version, the PS2 only having 20 to the Wii's 26. I'll just mention some of the unused content here. Some of the monsters considered were Fire Lion, the Visitor, Lightning Bug, Hedorah, King Kong, Mechanicong, Gamera, Zilla, Baggin, and Monster X/Kaiser Ghidorah. An extra stage that was going to be added was Los Angeles, only being scrapped due to there not being enough cities outside of the US in the game, getting replaced by Sydney. A fun little fact was this game was actually supposed to only be an update to Save the Earth, and later meant to be a launch title on the Wii, but Atari decided to stop the project, only bringing it back up in 2006. This game is a joy to play, and I just wish there was a little extra going on, as it seems in each game it's just missing something a little extra to push the games to an amazing level, but you can definitely get your fun out of each one. Hopefully one day in the future we can get another game like these. Also, that ends it for the little Godzilla videos I had going on. Maybe I'll do a history one day on Godzilla, as I was originally going to, but there's so much going on with the character that I want to make it its own kind of thing to accurately represent everything that's went on with the character. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next video.